You are listening to a Freedom Student Ministry podcast.
Listen to what I'm about to say and think about if it is something that you relate to, okay? Our American culture wants us to think that if we don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, then we're not okay. Maybe something's wrong with us. Maybe we're ugly. That's what our American culture wants. Maybe we're unlikable or we're unlovable because we're not in a relationship. Social media tells us that if we don't post the best selfie or enough selfies, then we're not desirable.
What?
Social media also tells us we need to post our selfie and ask for people to rate us or to like the picture. And it's oftentimes because we're so insecure, we don't realize the love that we have from the Father, and it's His love that makes us beautiful or handsome. Internet and school, movies and songs, they tell us everyone's in a relationship except for us, and that everyone is happier than us because they're in a relationship. The world tells us that once we're in a relationship, we're going to experience the ultimate happiness. We're going to experience the greatest satisfaction possible, and that our feelings of love will always be there and make everything right. That we'll find in the other person and in the fact that we're in a relationship, that everything's now perfect in our lives. Do you guys feel that the world sends those messages? Movies, TV, media of any sort, school. Yeah. So the world and social media are wrong. They're so wrong that they're like complete opposite of what the truth is. Like complete, like couldn't be more different. Couldn't be more opposite. The only way to have a lasting, committed, covenant relationship with the highest ability to love a person the deepest and to be loved the deepest is if both the guy and the girl are pursuing Jesus first, are in a committed relationship with Jesus first, and they continue to grow in that relationship with God individually and as a couple the rest of their lives. I'm just being blunt with you guys tonight. That's the only way. Anything else is selling yourself so short of what God has for you. And you will not reach complete satisfaction in this life. Not that satisfaction comes from a relationship, but we're getting there. So relationships were described to me by a friend, and I don't even remember who it was, but it's impacted me for years in this way. So picture me, or you, running. All right? I'm running the race. I'm chasing after Jesus, and I'm not perfect, but I'm loving Jesus the best way that I know how, and I'm just pursuing Him with all that I am, okay? So Trey, I'm running, and all of a sudden, as I'm running and pursuing Jesus and giving myself to Him, I look to my right, and there's a guy running the same speed as me toward God, right? And for you, it might be a girl. I don't care if it sounds cheesy. It's so good. And as we're running toward God and we look at each other, we start to have conversations. And then we maybe start to date and then get married. And we continue to pursue God together. And as we individually pursue God, we get closer. Whoa. Do you see that? Do you see that triangle? It blew my mind, and it continues to blow my mind. Because it's so good. It's so true. My job is just to continue to pursue Jesus, and He will bring me gifts along the way, whether it's a spouse or not, right? And what's interesting about this is if you've been looking for the answer, if you've been asking the void, or if you're a believer and you've been asking God, how do I get into a good relationship? This is the formula. It's not that simple, but in reality, it is the formula. Pursue God, and He will give you the greater gifts. Pursue Him, and He will give you a relationship that is healthy and good. There's Todd White always talks about having a single eye. It's a passage in a book of the Bible. I don't remember what it is. But a single focus on God, right? If your eye is focused on the light, light is going to come in and come out of the body. But if it's focused on evil, right? Keep your eyes focused. Horses, they put blinders on them so that they can't get distracted by things around them, and they just look at one thing. And that's what blinders are for us. We put blinders on. We don't get distracted by guys or girls on the right or the left, right? Depending on if we're a guy or a girl. And we look straight toward Jesus, and when it's time for those blinders to be down, God will remove them and show us who the person that we're supposed to be with is. So just because you pursue God like this doesn't mean you're going to be looking right or whatever and see that person as soon as you start totally pursuing God. He's going to bring that person along when it's right. He will give you good gifts in the right timing. Not just because you do something, but because he loves you. So we just continue to pursue him no matter what. James 4:8 says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. There's a second part I'll talk about in a second. So as you draw closer to God, you learn more about his love and his goodness and his kindness. And guess what? It causes you to love other people that way. Kind of like Rachel was talking about tonight, where she was like, I was so filled by the Spirit, I was overflowing, and I could give it to someone else. And so as you grow closer to God, you're able to give love to other people that is heavenly, it's godly, it's from him. It's not just human love, you know? It's like Jesus love, and that changes people, right? That's humble and kind. Oh, I have a story I might tell you guys. Okay. Whew, it's good. So as you draw closer to the Lord, and as your spouse draws closer to the Lord, or your boyfriend or girlfriend, when you're ready, right? It's a win-win for everyone. Do you see this? It's a win-win for the Lord and for you guys and for the rest of the world that you connect with, the people you connect with, because you're pursuing God individually and together, and you are not dependent on that person 100%. You are not codependent. You are not only surviving because the other person is surviving completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, your hope and your trust is in the Lord, and the Lord's given you the gift of a spouse, and that's amazing, but they're not what your hope and your trust is in. Okay? You will be disappointed if that's where you put your hope and your trust. So, like I said, it's a win-win, but it's not perfect because we're still human. Our relationships are not going to be 100% perfect, but it's the best that God intended. And what God intends is always the best. What God puts in motion is always the best. So look at this second part. It says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded. So as you're getting to know who Jesus is, you say, Jesus, clean me out. And that's when relationships can get a little messy, because you realize when you're connecting with even just another human being, not a spouse or something, that, whoa, I've got issues. Whoa, I am so selfish. And when I'm in a relationship, or when you're in a deep friendship, it's like your life is put on a megaphone. Like, here's all my sins. You can see them. You can hear them because we're with each other 24/7. You know what I mean? And then if you are following Jesus, you're like, okay, Jesus, I just treated so-and-so so poorly. Please rip that out of me. And it's a constant cleansing of your sins in your heart and your mind. And that's what makes relationships really good, is as you get rid of that stuff, like, the relationship just keeps getting better. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And then God reveals something new the next day, and you're like, ah! But it's not perfect. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So, this doesn't mean that God makes life easy once you start pursuing him on that line I showed you. That is the last thing, actually. God doesn't make your life easy. But it means that every situation that occurs in your life as a believer, whether good or bad, works out for your good. God's so amazing that whenever something happens that's bad in our lives, he can use it for good. So I'm just saying, all things God works out for the good of those who love him. all the junk that he pulls out of your life when you're in relationship with people is for good. Many people don't follow this model of pursuing God and then finding each other and continuing to pursue God together. A lot of times Christians even think that they can do what's called missionary date. Have you ever heard that? Christians try to date someone who isn't a Christian, thinking, oh, well, I'm going to help them believe. I'm going to help them know who Jesus is. And that almost never works. You laugh, but people, once they find someone that they're attracted to and they're so desperate that they just want to be in a relationship or whatever, or they're not following Jesus, so they think that, oh, it's okay, I can help them. And it doesn't work that way. That person has to be visited by Holy Spirit and convicted of sin and ready to follow Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Some people are so desperate to be in a relationship, and maybe you've been this way. Actually, I've been this way. We lower our standards to so low that the relationship sucks because you're with someone you actually don't want to be with. You're with someone who's not right for you. Or you force a relationship when it's way too early for you to be in one because you're so desperate. Maybe you felt that way before. Maybe that's happened to you before and you've been really hurt out of it. That is why, in my opinion, there's such a high divorce rate in the world, because people are going from person to person, trying to find their soulmate, trying to find something in them that they can only find in Jesus. And there's a lot of depressed people in the world because they try to find satisfaction in other humans, and that's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. That's why I'm saying the desperate nature of a lot of people to just be with someone causes a lot of divorces, a lot of broken hearts. And then what do divorces cause? They cause really hurt, broken kids that grow up without a mom or without a dad. And it sucks. That is not the way God intended it to be. It's difficult. Every human needs a male and a female figure in their life to walk with them and teach them and help them grow up. And if you're from a divorced family, I'm sorry. And I would love to just pray for you and just help you if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, that was a hard road for me, is a hard road for me. And maybe even you have parents that are married that don't know Jesus, and you're like, well, they love each other, and they're together, and it seems like it works. And yes, they're married. Yes, they love each other. Yes, it works. But those people, unfortunately, are not loving or being loved as deeply as they could if God was a part of their relationship. They still love each other. It's still good, right? But if they don't know Jesus, they still might be looking for satisfaction in that other person. They still are going to be disappointed in deep ways. And I'm not saying as soon as you get married and you love Jesus, you're going to be not looking for the other person for satisfaction. Because we do that sometimes, don't we? We do it in our friendships, too. We're really counting on someone to provide that boost of something in a day at school or something. But if they're not there, then we're depressed. We can't rely on people like that. That's not what they're for. We rely on God for our joy and our satisfaction. I'm going to be really honest with you guys tonight. You ready? So I'm 30. I'm not married. And it is a struggle sometimes. You may not think it is. You may be like, oh, Erica, she's cool. She's fine. No, it's hard. It's really hard to be single. I have so many friends who have been in their weddings. Or friends that are getting married now. I had a friend get engaged on Sunday. One of my best friends got engaged. I'm so happy for her. Friends are having kids or have kids that are even 9, 10 years old now. It's hard. So I tell you that to say, I get it. If you're someone who struggles right now, who's like, I just want to be with someone. I understand. I want more, and I want to want more at times, to just have a fire for Jesus that affects every relationship I have. Right? That's my top. Because God's going to be with me forever, and a future spouse is potentially not. or may never come. Please, Lord, don't let that be. So, when God brings you the person that you are meant to be with, because you're following Jesus, you're pursuing Him, it will be the best thing. It will be the best thing. Not meaning like it's going to be the best thing of your whole life. But what I mean is it will be the best person for your life. It will be the best timing for your life. The best situation for your life. So that goes for when God brings you children. That goes for when God gives you guidance for the right college to go to. That comes when God guides you the right job to take. That comes when God shows you somebody who can be your really good friend because you've really been wanting a good friend. Like, God gives good gifts. It's a lot of G's, but it's true. He gives good gifts to the people who are following Him. For all things in a believer's life, God works out for good. If you think you're ready for a relationship, I want you to use this checklist, okay? I meant to say, am I old enough? Or no, it's okay. So this is a checklist. I'm old enough. You either check it off or you don't. And parents have different rules about this. But I'm not dishonoring your parents, but I'm not talking about your parents right now. Because if you're 16 or 15 and your parents say it's okay to date, I'm not going to tell you that your parents are wrong. What I am going to tell you is if you want to pursue Jesus, then these are some criteria, whether your parents say it's okay or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to dishonor parents. So I am old enough. And what I mean by old enough is I can legally get married. Does that make sense? So if you're not 18, honestly, there's no reason you should be dating because that is a recipe for disaster. You could all of a sudden find yourself sleeping with that person, and that would be so sad. It's not the end of the world if that happens, but it would be so sad because you've given of yourself to someone who's not the person God has provided for you. So sad. So, I am old enough. That's the first thing. Can you check that off? Second thing, I am in a deep, committed, loving relationship with Jesus. If you can check that off, then you're ready to date. I love Jesus more than I desire to be in a relationship with someone. Whoa. I have Christian people around me who will be able to tell me that I am ready to date. And if they think I'm not, then I will listen to what they have to say, pray and seek God about it, and then go on from there. If you have mentors in your life that say, I don't think you're ready, you need to listen to them because they know. They're probably married. They probably know that you've got some things you need to set right in your life before you can commit your life to another person. And then the last checkpoint, there actually might be more. Nope, this is it. The person I want to date is a Christian. They don't just say they're a Christian, but there is fruit in their life that shows that they love Jesus and are growing in a relationship with Him. These are the criteria, folks. I'm not telling you you have to do this or else, but I'm pleading with you to get your heart in a place where you are on course with Jesus so that these things can be true and you can marry somebody who these things are also true for, and you're living in like such a good place, such a healthy place, such a God-honoring place that will change the world. Then, for when you are ready to date, here are some tips. The basis of every relationship is friendship. Always, always friendship. If you just start dating someone you meet off the street, or you've known at school for 3 days, like, you have not developed a friendship, and there's not a good foundation there. Dating should not be serious at the beginning. It should be for learning about the person you're with and getting to know them. I would even challenge you guys, if you think that you have a good view of what dating is, ask the Lord to challenge it and change your heart about it. Because you probably don't. And that's the same for me at times too, right? We think dating is like a movie and it's all good feelings and happiness. That crap don't last. Okay? There's a lot of power in friendship. You don't have to move things as fast as you think. And I'm not just talking about physically, I'm just talking about in general. But I am talking about physically too. Just kidding. Just because you're not currently in a relationship does not make you less of a person. I'm going to say that again and hope it speaks to your heart. Just because you're not currently in a relationship does not make you less of a person. You are so valuable in God's eyes. So valuable. Be with someone who is a follower of Jesus, someone who has their heart set on him. If you meet a person and you're kind of interested and that's not their intention to have their heart set on him, that's not true for them, get away. Like, that's not even someone you want to try to have a relationship with. They could be a friend, but if it's going to be too much temptation for you, get out of there. Jesus has so much to do for you and in your life. He has so much for you in your life. And that's like what matters. That's what matters completely, is what Jesus has for you. And not like the gifts he has for you, but like the stuff he has for you to change your heart and to make you more like him. That's the good stuff. That's the important stuff.
You have just been listening to a Freedom Student Ministry podcast.